the National Service Recognition Award. What will it do? Two things. First, help with the cost of their subsequent education of NS men. And secondly, also to help them to buy a house. What is this going to be? A meaningful sum. In total, $9,000 for soldiers, a little bit more for commanders. And we will pay this in tranches at major milestones of the NS man service. It will go into his post-secondary education account. It will go into his CPF accounts. And it is a significant, tangible recognition of the sacrifices and the efforts and the contributions of our national servicemen. It's for citizens only. The PRs who do national service, when they take citizenship later, they can get it too. And I think this will be a significant token of appreciation. And I don't want to go into all the details tonight. MINDEF will announce the details very soon. I hope it will be well received. Finally, there's an issue of crowding and congestion. Too many people in Singapore, there's not enough space, solitude. Will we have enough facilities for Singaporeans and foreigners? And where these are practical concerns, we can also do something about them. School places, I talked about in the Chinese speech just now, we will ensure enough school and university places, and we will upgrade our system so that everybody gets a good education, which I will talk about later on. Transport is another area where people worry about congestion, especially on the trains. We know there is an issue here. LTA and the transport operators have been working on this problem. We have been discussing it with them, and let me try and explain what the problem is, where the problem is, what we can do about it. Here's a map of our MRT system. Most of the time, it is working fine. The peak hours are when the crowding takes place. Peak hours, morning and evening, but morning more than evening, particularly between 7:45 and 8:45 p.m. And the yellow, orange, and red parts show you where the crowding is the most severe. The green parts are generally okay. So where is it? It's on this north-south line coming down from Bukit Gombak to Dover, and particularly here around Jurong East, which is very, very crowded. It's along the northeast line from Serangoon Gardens down to Dhoby Ghaut, which is crowded coming inbound, and it's along the north-south line coming down from Nee Soon down to down, but particularly this little segment between Toa Payoh and Novena. So that's where the most serious difficulties are, and that's where we are doing things about it. First, for this segment from Bukit Gombak to Dover, we are modifying the Jurong East station. The work will be done by May next year. We're getting new trains. With the new trains and the new station, we'll be able to run more services during peak period. I think that will help a great deal. Along the northeast line, from next year, we will run an extra train during the peak period in the morning. And that means shorter intervals, less waiting for passengers. We are also buying new trains for the northeast line. They'll take 5 or 6 years to come, but the process has started. And when they come, we can increase the capacity for the northeast line, and we'll be able to carry 50% more passengers, which is plenty. The north-south line, the congestion is not as severe, but we expect the traffic to grow because the population in the north will grow, and we must anticipate that. With the Circle line partially complete, we have already taken some of the load off the north-south line. And next year, the Circle line phase 3 will be completed, and I think that will help some more. Beyond that, we are changing the signaling system on the north-south line and also the east-west line. so that we can run trains at shorter intervals. Instead of 120 seconds, which is 2 minutes, you run it at 100 seconds, and that means you can run 20% more trains. It will take some years to do because the trains are running all the time and we only have 3 or 4 hours every night to do this. So please be patient, but the work is underway. We are investing enormously in our rail network. In fact, over the next decade, we are going to spend $60 billion and we're going to double the rail network. From what we have now to another 3 major lines coming along. First, the downtown line, which comes down from Bukit Timah and also from the East Coast. Secondly, the Thomson line, which comes down from Sembawang and will ease the pressure on the north-south line. And thirdly, the Eastern Region line, which will go through Marine Parade and come down to town and ease the pressure on the east-west line. The plans are there. We are going to build it. We haven't settled all of the train stations yet, so don't buy your houses yet. But we are doing everything possible to improve matters. So I hope Singaporeans will understand, be patient. LTA has a very difficult job. SBS Transit and SMRT also have a very difficult job. The trains will always be packed during peak hours. It happens everywhere. In other cities, in fact, the crowding is even more severe, but we are trying not to get to be as bad as the other cities. Please be patient. We can't guarantee that every passenger can get onto the first train every time, or even that he can get onto the second train every time. But there will be trains every couple of minutes, and if you miss one, the next one will be just a few minutes away. Another area where people worry about the impact of foreigners is housing. Especially this year with house prices going up sharply, people are very concerned. And some Singaporeans blame it on foreigners. And I have no doubt that when immigrants come and work permit holders come, it contributes to housing demand because they must live somewhere and houses have to be built for them, which we will do. But there are also other broader economic forces at work. Because if we look back over the last 2 years, the number of people in Singapore have been more or less the same throughout. But 2 years ago, property prices were falling. And they were falling last year until the middle of the year when suddenly the mood changed and the property prices started shooting up again. So, and it's happening not just in Singapore, it's also happening in Hong Kong and other cities around the region, in China. And therefore, there are other broader factors at work. But whatever it is, it's something which we are focusing our minds on. We will manage immigration to make sure Singapore doesn't become too crowded. And we can commit to you, I promise you, we will always keep HDB flats within reach of Singaporeans. That's what HDB's mission is. That's why it exists. The flats will be affordable. The supply will be adequate. You can't get it straight away tomorrow, but the wait will not be too long. HDB will build more flats. This year we built 16,000 new flats. Next year HDB will build up to 22,000 new flats. So if you missed one BTO, don't worry, the next one is coming. Within a month there'll be another BTO and you will be able to get one before too long. There are 22,000 new flats coming along and we don't have 22,000 new couples getting married in Singapore every year. Secondly, HDB will try their best to speed up the completion of these BTO flats. It takes about 3 years, sometimes 3.5 years from the time when you book to the time when you collect your keys. HDB thinks they can bring it down a little bit. Ma Baotan says, don't promise, but we will try our best. And I think everybody expects them to deliver their best. Thirdly, we will emphasize home ownership. We've loosened up on rules for private property owners to buy HDB resale flats over the years. I think there are quite a number of private property owners who buy HDB resale flats, and then they resell them within quite a short period of time because they are allowed to within 1 year or 2 years. We've raised the period a little bit, but I think we should tighten up on rules further so that it's quite clear that HDB flats are meant primarily for owner occupation. That takes care of the vast majority of the population, 80%, all those who earn less than $8,000 family income and are eligible for HDB flats. But there's a sandwich group, those who are earning a bit more than $8,000, but who can't quite afford private property. So we have the executive condos, and those between 8 and 10K family income can presently buy executive condos, which they will get a housing grant, $30,000, and they arrange their own financing. But I think this group is quite anxious about falling between, so they are not eligible for HDB, and they can't afford private property. They are anxious, and I think their parents are also very anxious, because the parents say, I will have to help to fork out for my kids. And because people are marrying a little bit later, so their incomes tend to be a little bit higher, so they worry that they will get promoted before they get settled. So we'll do more to help them own their homes. We will widen the choice which is open to this group between 8 and 10K beyond executive condos to allow them to buy HDB DBSS flats, design, build, and sell scheme, which are quite many because every year we have a few thousand DBSS flats, as many as we have executive condo flats on sale. They can buy DBSS, same terms like the executive condos. 30,000 grant, arrange your own loan. And we will release more land so that we will build more ECs, more DBSS, and there will be enough supply for this group of Singaporeans as well. The third part of the property market is the private property market. We've twice acted to cool the market, once last year and once in February this year, but the prices are still rising, the cash overvaluations are still high. I think we need to do more. I don't want to go into the details tonight, otherwise you will remember nothing else about my speech. Tomorrow morning, before the market opens, MND will put out a press statement and Mabautan will hold a press conference tomorrow. But our purpose is to make sure that in the long term, Singaporeans can own their homes and afford it, and it will be a gradually appreciating asset which will grow as Singapore grows, so that Singaporeans can benefit. There are many pieces to this story of immigration and foreign workers and talent and competition and so on, and we need to draw all these threads together to manage them holistically and make sure that Singaporeans benefit and the impact of these policies is well managed. We don't have a ministry to do this, but we will set up a population and talent division in the Prime Minister's office. It's like Public Service Division, PSD, which is also in the Prime Minister's office, with a permanent secretary at a ministry level. So PMO will cover it, but I will delegate this, and the minister in charge of the Population and Talent Division will be Mr. Wong Kan Seng. And he will coordinate the work of Home Affairs, of MOM, of MTI, of MCYS, and make sure that all our policies fit together and the implementation works out well and everything runs okay. But finally, the success doesn't just depend on the government policies. It's also the personal links and relationships and how individuals fit into our society and how we accommodate and we welcome them. I give you one real example. Ms. Delia Ho, who is currently a medical technologist at Changi General Hospital. She helps with the pathologists examining specimens. She came to Singapore from Hong Kong at the age of 14 in the mid